Consistency isn't sexy, it's not loud, it's not glamorous, and nobody claps for it. But it is the single force that turns average talent into unstoppable momentum. Most people wait for motivation. Winners, they manufacture it. When your mind screams, not today, you answer every day. Because the day you force yourself to show up, especially when you don't feel like it, that's the day everything starts to fall into place. Every great breakthrough you admire, every career, every comeback story, every transformation was built on one invisible habit: consistency. Not perfection, not luck, consistency. And the truth is, nobody is born consistent. You become consistent the same way you build muscle. You force the reps until the reps become you. Listen, let's get this straight from the jump. Consistency isn't built in comfort. It's built when your body says, stop, your mind says, why, and you still whisper back again. People chase motivation like it's some magical fuel, but motivation is a spark, consistency is the fire, and if you want anything meaningful to fall into place, you have to force yourself to keep showing up long after the feeling fades. That's where the real separation begins. The quiet, lonely hours when nobody's watching and nobody's clapping, yet you still choose to rise. I learned early that your identity isn't formed by the big decisions. It's shaped by the small ones you repeat every day. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you sink or climb to the level of your habits. There's a study that says it takes about 66 days for a behavior to become automatic. 66 days, not inspirational, not glamorous, but that's the point. Because once the behavior becomes automatic, the struggle fades, the resistance drops, it stops being something you do and becomes something you are. Think about any master of their craft. They didn't wake up great. They didn't rely on talent. They didn't wait for the perfect mood or the perfect morning. They decided daily. Every sunrise was a contract. Every repetition was a vote for who they were becoming. That's identity, built brick by brick, rep by rep, day after day. I remember a friend who wanted to shift his life, lose weight, get sharper, find some discipline again. He didn't have a fancy program, just a decision: walk 1 mile every morning before work. Day 1 looked like a scene from a slow motion movie, hands on knees, sweat dripping, breath fighting him the whole time. Day 10, a little smoother. Day 25, he started adding a light jog. Day 66, automatic. He didn't even think about it. It was a reflex. And the wild part, his confidence skyrocketed more than his fitness, because the real transformation wasn't his body, it was the identity he built mile by mile. That's your first lesson. Don't wait to feel ready. Start messy, start tired, start annoyed. Just start. Those early reps count the most. They're the ones that bend your identity, reshape your mindset, and teach you to trust yourself again. You want to be the person who trains every morning. You want to be the writer who writes daily, the student who studies consistently, the leader who shows up prepared. That version of you doesn't show up on day 1. That version is born somewhere between days 30 and 66, right when most people quit, right when the discomfort peaks, right when the excuses get loud. Push through that window and everything changes. Because consistency rewires you. It takes you from, I hope I can, to this is what I do, from wishing to becoming. And once you become the person who shows up no matter what, everything else finally starts to fall into place. Listen closely, because this part right here is where most people tap out. Hard things don't stay hard. They only feel impossible at the beginning. That first step, heavy, slow, awkward, like you're dragging your whole body through wet mud. But here's the truth nobody wants to hear: the mud doesn't disappear. You just get stronger. Your legs get used to the weight. Your mind gets used to the resistance. And suddenly, what once felt overwhelming becomes something you can handle before breakfast. That's the power of consistent effort. It bends reality. It reshapes difficulty. It rewires your limits. Think back to the first time you tried anything challenging, the first morning workout after months off, the first page of a book you swore you'd finally finish, the first attempt at waking up early, even though your bed felt like it was glued to you. Week 1 is pain. Week 1 is chaos. Week 1 is you questioning every decision you've ever made. But something starts to shift around week 3. Your body adjusts, your mind catches the rhythm, and by week 10, it's part of your flow, a non-negotiable, like brushing your teeth or checking your phone. That's consistency doing its quiet, invisible work. Let me tell you a story. A founder once told me how he forced himself to write cold emails every morning at 5 a.m., not because he loved it, not because he was some superhuman machine, but because his business depended on it. The first 2 weeks, brutal. He said he stared at the screen for 20 minutes before typing a single word. Every sentence felt like a pull-up with a weight vest. But he kept going. He kept showing up while the rest of the world slept. And by week 8, something clicked. He was firing off emails in minutes. Clients replied, deals closed. People looked at him and said, man, you're gifted. Gifted, he laughed. It wasn't talent, it was the repetition. The boring, unglamorous grind that nobody saw. The work done when the world was quiet. Consistency had transformed the difficult into the natural. And here's the practical takeaway. Don't judge the journey by day 1. Don't judge it by week 1. Judge it by your willingness to show up long enough for the hard thing to soften. Hard doesn't mean impossible. Hard means unfamiliar. And the cure for unfamiliar is repetition. If you want to make anything easier, your fitness, your craft, your studies, your relationships, you've got to keep showing up past the discomfort window. Most people quit at the part where the mud is thickest. But if you push a little longer, if you lean in when your brain says stop, you'll hit a point where the resistance fades and the rhythm takes over. That's when you realize the real secret. Consistency doesn't just make hard things easy. It makes you stronger than the hard thing. Let me hit you with this straight from the heart. You can't fix what you don't track, and you can't track what you don't repeat. Most people bail before the truth ever has a chance to reveal itself. They try something for a few days, maybe a week, don't see fireworks, and they walk away calling it a failure. But consistency gives you data, it gives you patterns, and patterns never lie. Patterns tell you exactly what's working, what's failing, what needs tweaking, and what needs doubling down. You can't see any of that if you're showing up once in a while. You only see it when you show up like it matters. Think about how you learn anything in life. You don't understand the rhythm on day 1. You don't see the shape of the road on day 2. But keep going long enough, and suddenly you notice things most people miss. You notice the small shifts, the little improvements, the tiny adjustments that stack into big change. That's the hidden gift of consistency. It turns chaos into clarity. I had a friend who committed to hitting the gym for 100 days straight, not to impress anyone, not for some dramatic transformation montage, just for himself, just to see what would happen if he truly stayed with something long enough to understand it. The first 20 days, nothing, no visible changes, no magical surge of energy. Some days he felt worse than when he started, but he kept going. People started asking if he was doing something new. You look different, they said. You're moving different. By day 60, his clothes fit better. By day 80, he was lifting weights he once avoided. And by day 100, he didn't just look different, he thought differently. The gym stopped being a place, it became a mirror reflecting the version of himself he was building rep by rep. Here's the real lesson from his journey. Your life doesn't change in the dramatic scenes. It changes in the micro moments nobody sees, the mornings you drag yourself out of bed, the meals you choose with intention, the pages you read when your eyes are tired, the quiet hours spent fixing, refining, learning, repeating. That's where your future is shaped, in the small decisions that compound over time. And if you want actionable power, start tracking your days, not for perfection, just for patterns. Write down what you did, how you felt, what improved, what didn't. You'll start noticing things. The days you perform better, the habits that drain you, the routines that lift you. Most people don't lack ability, they lack awareness. Consistency gives you that awareness. Stay long enough to see the patterns. Stay long enough to see the progress. Stay long enough to discover your purpose inside the grind, because once you do, you'll understand what most people never will. The truth of your life reveals itself only after you've shown up enough times for the story to unfold. Let me hit you with something most people never realize until it's too late. Showing up every day creates a pressure that works for you, not against you. Not the kind that crushes you, the kind that lifts you, the kind that whispers, you've already come this far, don't you dare stop now. That's the quiet, powerful pressure consistency builds. It's momentum in disguise. And once it starts rolling, it becomes almost impossible to walk away. Think about the last time you actually stuck with something longer than a week. Maybe you were meditating every morning, maybe journaling, maybe going for a run. At first it felt fragile, like it could break at any second. But once you hit day 10, day 20, day 30, suddenly stopping felt wrong. Stopping felt like losing something, like throwing away hours you earned through sweat and stubbornness. That's good pressure. That's the pressure you want. It's the kind that turns discipline into commitment and commitment into identity. I had a buddy who decided he was going to write one page every day. just one. No grand expectations, no dreams of perfection, just a page. The first week he hated it. Every night felt like dragging furniture up a flight of stairs. But he kept going. And by week 4, he said something that stuck with me. I don't write because I feel inspired. I write because I've already built too many days to let them go. He wasn't afraid of the blank page anymore. He was afraid of breaking the streak. That's the good pressure. It makes you accountable, not to the world, but to the version of yourself you're becoming. And that pressure becomes momentum, real momentum, the kind that turns a tiny spark into a full-on engine. Picture a stalled car. Lean your shoulder into it and the thing doesn't budge. You push harder, legs shaking, arms locked. 10 seconds feel like 2 minutes. But then just an inch, it moves. And once it moves, everything gets easier. The second push feels lighter. The third, even lighter. Suddenly, you're guiding something that used to overwhelm you. That's what consistency does. The hardest part is the start. The beginning is the mountain. But once you've built enough days, enough reps, enough small victories, one hand, one tiny effort can keep the whole thing in motion. Here's the practical magic in all this. Don't underestimate the power of a streak. Track your days, celebrate them, let them stack. Because there will be mornings when you don't want to do anything, when the excuses sound better than the goals. But the streak speaks louder. It reminds you what you've already earned. It makes quitting feel expensive. Suddenly, showing up feels easier than breaking the chain. That's the good pressure, the pressure that fuels you, the pressure that builds engines out of ordinary days. And once that engine is running, you become unstoppable, not because you never struggle, but because you refuse to waste the days you fought so hard to build. Listen to me. Your future is hiding in the days you don't feel like doing anything. That's the truth nobody wants to admit. Everybody loves the highlight reel. Everybody loves the big moment, the big win, the big applause. But the life you want, it's built in silence, built in sweat, built in the small choices that feel insignificant while you're making them. And if you can force yourself to be consistent, even when you're tired, even when you're irritated, even when you're unsure, everything you're chasing will eventually turn around and start chasing you back. I've seen it happen over and over. Someone starts with nothing but frustration and a shaky routine, but they keep showing up every day, no drama, no fireworks, just effort. And slowly, so slowly they barely notice, it starts to click. The discipline they built when no one was watching becomes the strength they rely on when everyone is watching. That's the kind of discipline that shapes a future, not the kind that shows up when it's easy, but the kind that shows up when your whole body is saying, let's quit. I knew a guy who used to train right after his graveyard shift. Imagine that. You're exhausted. The sun's coming up. All you want is a bed, a shower, a break from the world. But he made a deal with himself. I don't go home until I do 30 minutes. Not an hour, not perfection, just 30 minutes. Some mornings he barely got through it. Some mornings he felt like a zombie moving through concrete, but he stuck with it. Weeks passed, months passed, and one day he looked up in the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back, not because of the muscles, not because of the mindset. He'd become someone he respected, someone he trusted, someone he believed. And that belief came from every one of those half asleep, half broken mornings he refused to skip. This is what I want you to understand. Your future self depends on your current discipline. The life you keep saying you want is sitting on the other side of the routines you keep breaking. It's waiting for you to stop negotiating with your excuses, waiting for you to stop telling yourself tomorrow, waiting for you to finally act like your dreams matter today. Don't wait for the perfect moment. It won't come. Don't wait for motivation. It won't last. Don't wait for clarity. It appears only after you start moving. What you can control, what you can always control is that next rep, that next minute, that next step. Just show up today, show up tomorrow, show up the day after that. Not because it's easy, because it's necessary, because every day you show up, you cast a vote for the person you want to be. And when you stack enough votes, the world has no choice but to recognize who you became. Consistency first, everything else follows.